hand. It's time to open up your heart. It's time to love one another. It's time to take part. Vibrate always, loving and serving everyone. Vibrate always, loving and serving everyone. When you give our heart in charity, our lives are transformed into song. Our dream become reality. And we join Jesus for eternity. Vibrate always, loving and serving everyone. Vibrate always, loving and serving everyone. When we give our heart in charity, our lives are transformed into songs. Our dream become reality. And we join Jesus for eternity. Blue crystal eyes, colors of the sky, rainbow beard, Santa look alike. Shine on your brothers on earth, suffering, living joy, or in pain. Oh, crystal eyes, colors of the sky, rainbow beard, Santa look alike. Shine on your brothers on earth, suffering, living joy, or in pain. Bezerra de Menezes, Apostle of the Lord, receive our prayers and also our heart. Bezerra de Menezes, Apostle of the light, place our pain at the feet of Jesus Christ.
One day, will I meet my loved ones? Would you like to learn more about it? Join us to study and learn together about this and many other topics.
Come on, my friend, come to the light. Here with all our heart and soul, let's follow Jesus Christ. Let us preach the peace, let us preach the love. And this world already wonderful will be much more. Get up, look at the sky, in the earth where the flowers bloom with sunshine. Let's hold our hands and be together on this road. Then we take peace and love and spread it to the world. Good vibes, laughter and shout outs, show it to the world. Always follow the footsteps of our Lord. All roads that I shall walk on, sowing seeds of peace. This light that keeps us shining will be bright and brighter. Oh, we'll be brighter and brighter. Oh, we'll be brighter and brighter.
Sing this song along with me. Just open up your hearts. Feel harmony and peace inside yourself. Life is a great school, teaching always to do good. Learning that in order to be happy, we need to help. Learning to accept that everyone deserves respect. Uniting all their hearts with a gesture of affection. Finding our happiness will be spreading joy. There is no other way. Charity is the solution. Only one love, only one ideal. So love and peace in the world. Conquer first. Feel the life within herself, and love will certainly appear. And the world will be in peace. Sing this song along with me. Just open up your hearts. Feel harmony and peace inside yourself. Life is a great school, teaching always to do good. Learn that in order to be happy, we need to help. Learn to accept that everyone deserves respect. Uniting all their hearts with a gesture of affection. Finding our happiness will be spreading joy. There is no other way. Charity is the solution. Only one love, only one ideal. So love and peace in the world. Conquer first. Feel the life within ourselves, and love will certainly appear. And the world will be in peace. Only one love, only love ideal. So love and peace in the world. Conquer first. Feel the life within ourselves, and love will certainly appear. And the world will be in peace.
How is life in the spiritual world? Would you like to learn more about it? Join us to study and learn together about this and many other topics.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome back to our uh, Spiritism Talk. So, welcome to our public meeting, and we thank everyone for joining us tonight. Before we start, we would like to share a couple of announcements. We ask you to turn off your phone notifications and find a quiet place to stay during this time if it's possible. Our meeting will have a 30 minutes presentation followed by Q&A presentation. Q&A. Following the presentation, we will have a spiritual treatment with passes and magnetized water. So we invite everyone to set aside a container with water to be magnetized. We would like to invite everyone to our fourth Alta de Souza Fraternal meeting in Canada, with the theme will be planetary transition, the beginning of the new era. It will be a free and online meeting and is gonna happen on January 29th from 9:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. East. So everyone is invited to join us. Now I have a video for you.
Have you ever wondered what reincarnation is, and would you like to learn more about it? If so, come and join us to study and learn together about this and many other topics.
So this is another invitation for who wants to learn more about Spiritism. On February 5th, we will start a free and online course, Get to Know to Spiritism, and the registration link will be released soon. So join us to start and learn more about Spiritism. And we also invite you to follow us on our social media. We are on Instagram, on Spiritism group Path of Life. We are also in YouTube and Facebook with Spiritism Canada. Now I invite everyone for our opening prayer. So let's close our eyes if you wish. Elevate our thought and think in God. Thank you, Master Jesus, for the opportunity to be here one more Tuesday. Thank you for everything you have done for us. Thank you for your love, for your mercy. We ask your protection, and we also ask you to inspire our friend Veronica, who is going to speak to us tonight. And may we always remember, Jesus, that love and charity is the only way to reach you. May we can be a better person every day if we remember your teachings. And we ask you and the good spirits to protect us and stay with us today and always. So be it. The topic of today's meeting is the chapter 3. There are many children in my Father's house. Items 8 to 12. Highly evolved and less evolved words. And it will be facilitated by our friend Veronica from Winnipeg. So our meeting is being transmitted through Facebook and YouTube, and everyone is welcome to write comments and questions in the chat, and we will address the questions at the end of the talk. And now we invite our friend Veronica. Welcome.
Hello. Hello. Good evening, everyone. Hello, Marceli.
Hello,
Uh,
welcome.
I'm very happy to be here today to lead our study, right? So, as Marceli said, we are going to study chapter 3, and we items 8 to 12. So these items are the Spiritist teachings. So remembering that, just to remind us that in the Gospel according to Spiritism, every end of the chapter, Allan Kardec provides a section that's called Spiritist teachings. So when we want to know what the spirits tell us about that topic, we can go to the end of the chapter, and Kardec provides a collection of messages that explain a little bit on the based on the spiritist words about that topic, right? So today we are going to talk about highly evolved and less evolved worlds. And what are the highly and less evolved worlds? We saw for a couple weeks, we have been reading this chapter, and we know that we learned that highly evolved and less evolved worlds is a matter of relativity, right? Because one world can be more or less evolved relative to others, right? It's not an absolute measure. We don't get a score on the type of world we live in. But we know that if we live on Earth, there are worlds that are less evolved than us and others that are way more evolved than us, right? So the spirits come to tell us how those worlds that are different from ours look like. So, in the world is less or evolved or highly evolved in relation to those that are above or below in a scale of progression, which means that all worlds change in the direction of evolution, right? We don't go backwards, we always go forward. So let's see what the spirits tell us about these different worlds that we don't live in. So we are going to start about the less evolved worlds, right? So the less evolved worlds, we have people, human beings like us, that have spirits like all of us have, but they present themselves in a different way because the world is less evolved. So the spirits that live in there are also less evolved, and they present themselves in a way that is less evolved as well. So they appear to be rudimentary. And if we think about our history, right, the first human beings that came to live on Earth, that we can have an idea about what is this rudimentary life looks like, right? So the human form is there. We know that they are humans, but they don't look as beautiful, right? The beauty is not present. The instincts prevail over virtues. So these are spirits that are still very tied to spirit, to instincts. So sentiments of love, compassion may not be that present, right? They use brute force as a form of law. So they are very poor in terms of social laws that regulate each other or people's lives, but they use the force. So the strongest is the one who is the master of the tribe, for example. They spend life to conquer food because life is very difficult. Technology advances in terms of the way how we live to make life easier is not present yet. So they spend much of the time foraging and looking for food. And existence is fully material. So the needs for survival are so hard that they spend the entire their only concern is about material things, survival. Okay, what else? But then the spirits also remind us that these words, although they seem to be very difficult to live in, they remind us that God does not forget about any creature that God creates, right? Any creature in the creation is not forgotten by God. So there is a reason for these type of worlds to exist. So in the darkest depths of each mind, so even the primitive human beings, right, that live in other worlds, there is a latent, vague intuition about the existence of God. So when God created us as simple spirits, right, and He creates us with this sense of existence of God, of something above us, and why is the importance of have this sense of existence, right? The importance is that, if I can move my cursor, is that this instinct about the existence of a supreme intelligence is enough to prepare ourselves to try to reach this perfection. So the intuition of the perfection makes us seek for the imperfection for ourselves. And this make us in condition to, in a certain point in our lives, to achieve that. And so we are not degraded beings. So we are not spirits that have a fate to be imperfect or to be to live in a primitive world, but we are children who are growing up. So we can look us as spirits that live in a. If we look at spirits that live in primitive worlds, we can look at them as children that is learning to walk, learning to live, right? And we also are in this path to grow up, right? So we are still in the process of developing. So and then the spirits come to tell about the highly evolved worlds. So once we progress, once we grow up, where are we going to live? So we are going to leave those worlds that are still less evolved, and we're going to go to a different place, right? A highly evolved world. So how is life in there, right? So we don't know, right? I think nobody of us went there for a visit on a vacation and then came back to see to tell us how it looks like, but the spirits did. So let's see what they tell us about these highly evolved worlds. So first thing, how about our bodies, right? Our corporeal form, right? Our body shape. Do we have this same shape as, will I look like the same person as I look here in an evolved world? So they tell us that everywhere, as in everywhere else, we have a human form. And that's a very important point to remember, right? So beings that live other worlds, they are human beings like us. What does that mean? Do they look like us? It's not about the physical appearance, but it's about the essence, the spirit. So all beings that populate other worlds are also human beings in spirit. So they have this a spirit just like all of us. And they have a human form. So you can imagine that it might be something looking like our human form, but they look much more perfected, embellished, and purified, right? So let's imagine a better version of ourselves, right? So that's what people that live in other worlds, in highly evolved worlds, will look like. So the body possess nothing of earthly materiality. So the consistency of the body is a little bit different. It's probably lighter, right? And consequently, is subject neither to the needs the diseases nor deteriorations that the predominance of matter endangers. So because in a highly evolved worlds, the material of the body is lighter, less dense, we are not subject to diseases or the problems that our body faces, right? And so as we if we have a illness or a disease, we might have our physical body compromised, right? We could have organs that stop working, so this might not be as strong as in highly evolved worlds. So let's see what else. They tell us also that our senses, they are much more refined and we have advanced perceptions. So in the spiritist literature, we see that when, for example, Andrea Lewis come to describe the life in the spiritual world, they are the spirits that are more evolved. They are able to the perceive the intentions, the thoughts, and the atmosphere that surround the individual. So let's say, for example, if we are a person that's very negative, pessimist, complain about things, we create this atmosphere like a dark cloud on top of our heads around us, that the spirits that are more evolved are actually able to perceive, right? They are able to perceive each other's personal atmosphere. So in highly evolved worlds, there is a free transmission of thoughts. So people communicate through thoughts. So if we were in a highly evolved world today, maybe I didn't need to say a word, just by thought, everybody would be able to understand what I'm trying to say, right? But thought is an energy that we can transmit our feelings, thoughts, and ideas. And people have light bodies, rapid and easy locomotion, right? Because the body is lighter, it's easy to move around, right? But not necessarily will have wings, right? When we see in movies, maybe angels have wings, or perhaps we may not have, right? Just the consistency of our body will allow us to move easily. So let's say a little bit more about what else we can see there, right? So the spirits tell us that usually infancy, it's much shorter than here, because the spirits are more evolved. They don't need so much time to develop and to occupy their bodies and learn to control their bodies. So if you look at a newborn, the spirit is there, but it has very poor control of the body, right? It takes years for them to actually being able to control their own bodies. But in highly evolved worlds, this time is a little bit shorter because they are able to gain independence and autonomy much easier. And life is also proportionally much longer than Earth. And the spirits tell us that this is because we don't go through difficulties and situations that disturb our health and make us shorten our lives in general, right? So they are able to live a longer life and use that experience better than we do. So death is not a situation that people is afraid of, because they understand that the future is just ahead of us. So they see death as a happy transformation, because of they have no doubt about the future life, right? So it's still very hard for us to imagine in that, right? How we suffer very much when we experience the death of our loved ones. It's still pretty hard to see that as a happy transformation, but the highly evolved spirits appear to do that. Between nations, so there are still nations, right? So in highly evolved worlds, so they live in communities. They have these cultures or groups that are distinct, but there is a relationship of friendship. And so relationships between nations are always friendly and are never disturbed by ambition or by seeking domination of one over the others, and there are no wars. So if we could close our eyes and imagine living in a world like that, where all nations are friends, right? We don't need to have security checks to enter in a country. We have friends that are ready to help each other if they experience a calamity, if they have a problem, ready to share resources. So imagine a world like that. That's how highly evolved worlds are. So and highly evolved worlds also, they live in a type of social organization where there are no masters, slaves, or privileges of birth, right? It's not because I was born from a family that I'll be the master or a slave. No, there's nothing like that. It's all based on moral and intellectual ascendancy. That's what established supremacy. So um, who has occupied one position or the other? For example, authority is always respected. So nobody is trying to make a coup, right? To gain the power by strength or by competing or by battling. But authority is always respected and is comfort to those who have merit and always exercise justice. So the leaders are the ones that are more capable to lead people. And they have that spot because they deserve it. They have the knowledge, they have the experience, and they have the ways to actually take that place, right? So there's no hatred, no jealousy, and no envy. So it's a world um, where bad, vicious behavior is not existent, right? So that makes us space to actually build good things. The highly evolved worlds in there, the people do not try to raise themselves above others. So it's not a race to be more or higher than other people, but it is above themselves. So the people try to raise above themselves. So improve themselves and not at the cost of others, right? So people try to reach, strive for perfection. They work hard to reach the class of pure spirits. So in highly evolved worlds, the spirits are not pure spirits yet, right? So pure spirits is that spirit that would reach the maximum capacity in terms of evolution, development. Is a pure spirit. These high evolved worlds are still we have their spirits that are still in this path, but they work hard to reach this point of pure spirits. Now, a question that I have for all of us is, how do they work? How do they work to actually reach the state of pure spirits? So maybe that's one question we can discuss after the talk in the Q&A, right? But let's think about that for the next few minutes, okay? All right, so there is a bond of love and fraternity that unites everybody. The strongest help the weakest, right? So if we could do that today, where people who have better situation is the strongest, sometimes have intelligence, have resources. If we could help others that are still in the beginning of their path, who are struggling, we can imagine that it would be a much better world, right? Where we would be sharing much more peace and joy. So that's what they do over there. And how about possessions? So are they so evolved that they don't need possessions, or they don't need a material things to live? No, that's not the case, right? Possessions vary to a great or less degree, according to the spirits, right? But is this a variation happens because depends on how they actually work to obtain them. So according to what they have acquired by means of their intelligence and effort, right? But no one, even though we have these differences, people don't suffer the lack of necessities, which means that everybody have the basic, right, the minimum to live. But ones may have more or less because they worked harder to have that. But there is no suffering because of lack of resources. So we can imagine that in the highly evolved worlds, people don't die for to starvation, right? There is enough food and water, right, for everybody. So people are not suffering because they are living on the streets and dying from the cold, right? So this doesn't happen because the basic necessities are covered. So eternal serenity of the soul reigns in these worlds, right? And they are not disturbed by anxieties of material life. So people are not fighting to each other or struggling because they want more or because they are extremely obsessive for material things, right? And also this environment of serenity reigns around everybody because they are not interacting with evil uh, persons, right? People that are still in the path towards evolution. So they don't have this influence as strong. So the environment is much more peaceful. This is what the spirits tell us, right? About the highly evolved worlds. So so if we close our eyes and try to imagine living in this world, or well, let's do a different exercise. Let's close our eyes and imagine Earth becoming this world, right? Let's close our eyes and imagine everybody that lives on Earth right now living in a situation like that there is no competition of like people trying to tackle others, right? And to try to raise themselves, that people are trying to help each other. There are no need for people are not suffering because they lack the basics, right, of housing, food, and things like that. It is pretty hard, right? When we live in a world where we still see wars, fights on the street, when we are just driving and somebody's yelling at each other because someone just cut them when they didn't want to, or simple things, people cutting lines, or just because we have different ideas or religious religious positions, different positions about religion, politics, and sports and everything. So it's pretty hard to think in a place where 100% of inhabitants are actually able to live in a friendly way, right? So why do we have this difficulty? Because if we think on the other side, let's go back to the beginning of this study where we were talking about the less evolved worlds. We can have a very good idea of that, right? If we close our eyes, we can have a very good picture about how it is to live in that place, right? The picture I showed, right? The Neanderthal humans, right? The first the humans from our primitive times that used to live in caves, right? Forage, hunt, and have a tough life like that, we can imagine living like that. But we have a very difficult view and understand how that could work in a highly evolved spirits, while people here are still competing to each other, right? So why do we have difficulty in understanding the delights of heaven, right? By heaven here is the highly evolved worlds. Well, the spirits tell us that very, very straight. They tell us, right, that that's because you can only speak about what we know, right? We have only faced pain and misery. We are still, because we are still evolving, right? We are still little evolved. So that's what the spirits tell us. We are still little evolved, right? So that's why we have a good sense about the less evolved worlds, because we experience that. But we have not yet glimpsed the splendor of more evolved worlds. So we didn't experience that. That's why it's hard for us to understand how that can work, right? But the spirits also tell us that as the human spirit evolves, as we evolved, and we purify ourselves, we will start to understand the good that lies ahead of us, and we will start to understand better also all the evil that we left behind. So our path towards becoming pure spirits, more evolved spirits, will lead us to this better understanding and about the good and the evil. So we can get there. That's the basic message, right? We can get there. So happy worlds are not a privilege. So these are not selected human beings that are chosen by God to live in these highly evolved, these heavenly places, right? No, because God is not partial towards anybody, right? So God is fair, right? And it's fair and justice in God allow us that will allow all of us to get there. So he gives to all the same rights and faculties to ascend to such worlds. So another question I have for today for our reflection: do we have the same rights and same faculties? When we look at everybody around us, is that true that God really is so impartial that make us all in the same, with the same conditions to reach the worlds? A question for us to discuss, right? And so then God makes all start from the same point and endows no one with more than others. So there is an interesting information, right? So the spirits tell us that God make us start all of us the same way. So we all have the same start. But if we look right now to all of us, if I get somebody like same age, same, like born in the same place, the same year, everything, we are very different. We are so different. But we are not, we were made the same. So what happened then that we have so much difference in this world? What make us, some people go for same struggles and one overcome the struggles and others succumb to struggles? So what this difference came from if God is so fair that make all of us the same? So the answer for that also answers how we can get to the highly evolved worlds. So evolved worlds are accessible to all of us, which means that we can all uh, have we can all have opportunity to improve ourselves each and to move forward in our process of growth and evolution. It is, however, our responsibility to win them, to win this the evolved world, right? To reach the evolved world is our responsibility to work to reach that better place um, as soon as possible. So we could do that as soon as possible, or we could linger through centuries and centuries in the underworlds of humankind. So what the spirits are telling us is that okay, everybody can reach the better the highly evolved worlds, but it depends on our own effort. So the question is here, okay, so we need to work hard for do that. So how do I work hard? So maybe I should exercise, eat well, or I should study more, I should understand what do we have to do, right? And the lessons are in the gospel, right? So the lessons about how we can reach that world is about ourselves, is about improving ourselves. So a highly evolved world is not made by itself, is made by the people who lives in there. So we could transform Earth in a highly evolved world if we become highly evolved spirits, right? So the path towards these better places depends on our own work. So that's the study for today, right? From this part of the chapter. So it is about how we can reach those places and how we can get there, right? How can we get there, and what we have to do now? What we could do now to actually reach that place. So I thank everybody for listening and listen to me, and hopefully we have some time to talk a little bit more, right, about some topics. Yeah, some questions.
Thank you so much, Veronica. What a
Thank
great
you.
topic to talk about. What a great talk you brought for us tonight. We do have lots of questions and comments today. So let's see here.
It's because everybody wants to go to a highly evolved world. That's why.
For sure.
Who wants to go?
Our friend Anna from the United States is saying that you thank you for this amazing reflection. I'm wondering if planet Earth will one day also become a highly evolved world. If yes, when will it happen, and how can we prepare for that?
Oh, yeah. Okay, there are many questions in there, right? So, will Earth one day become a highly evolved world? I guess we can say maybe as a very balanced answer. It depends, I guess. What does that depends, right? It depends because it depends
On
of,
everyone, right?
pardon?
Depends on everyone.
It depends on everyone, exactly. It depends on who is living on Earth and how people is living on Earth. So has Earth the condition to become a highly evolved world? Yes, the same way as each one of us has the condition can become a highly evolved spirit. But it depends on how the people inhabiting that world is going to live and evolve. So it is up to us to make Earth a highly evolved world. And then that answers the next question, right? When will Earth become a highly evolved world? Well, when we decide to become highly evolved spirits. right?
Yeah.
So it's not the earth that is going to become highly evolved, and that will make us to be highly evolved. On the other way around, right? We
Yeah.
as creatures, human beings with life and that live with intelligence, that are able to change the world, not the world that's able to change us.
And she also asked, how can we be prepared for that?
How can we prepare? Well, I think if we look at the description the spirits gave us about how the highly evolved worlds look like, how the spirits living in that world look like, how they behave, maybe that gives us a good clue what we should do here. Perhaps if we try to get rid of envy, jealousy, hatred, we might be doing something towards we might be getting prepared to live in that place, right? In a better world. Perhaps if we try to help the people, the strongest try to help the weakest, we might be able to do that. Perhaps if we don't weight so heavily material things, right? Material problems, or if we don't try this desperate um, life, right, where we are so worried about material possessions, maybe we'll be ready for it. It will make us better, more ready for the higher worlds. So I guess we should use the clues that the good spirits give us, right, to how to live and try to change now. Start now.
Mhm. We have more questions. Can we see here? We have how can we perceive that we are evolving and preparing ourselves to live a more evolved world?
Oh, how can we perceive that? Well, that's a good question. We can perceive things outside of us and inside of us, right? So if we look at outside of us, sometimes it might be easier, right? We do see lots of injustice, crazy things in this world, right? Through social media, through internet, from the news. But if we do look carefully, we also see that there are good in there. And one thing that shows that we are improving is that we start to notice injustice. We start to see things that are not just or fair. We start to see wrong in around us, and we are able to judge and differentiate between good and bad. But now, what about if we look at inside of us? Are we able to perceive if we are improving? And that's the question, is an individual question, right? We are the only ones to actually be able to see what is going on inside of us, right? Our weaknesses, our emotions that are not so good. Maybe we can see where we have jealousy, what brings us hate, what are the things that are still keeping us behind. And so how can we perceive if we are improving? If we look at our past, and we don't need to look at yesterday, right? But maybe 10 years ago, a few years ago, do we have anything we did that we what's the word, that we would not do today, right? That we really feel we are sorry for have done that in the past, and we would do things differently. Do we try to fix things, right, that we did wrong? So I think that these are the ways we can perceive we are improving. And of course we have ups and downs, right? We make mistakes, but being able to identify, detect the mistakes we make, and make a commitment to ourselves to not repeating that, it's a way to go, right? It's a step that we have to take in order to not repeating the same mistakes anymore. So I think there are ways we can repeat, right? We can perceive how things are changing to the better way.
And keep up trying to avoid mistakes, to try to do better, right? To learn
Yeah.
from our mistakes, right?
Yes. It's learning, right? We don't need to take our mistakes and feel horrible at a point that stop us from moving. We have to accept our mistakes, learn from them, and use them to improve, right?
Mhm.
As the gospel said, right? We don't use others to raise ourselves, but is a race with ourselves, right? We try to improve ourselves. So we have to use those mistakes as a ladder to actually improve.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. We have
Okay, thank you.
some other questions on comments, but we are short on time. So
Sure.
I thank you very much. We thank you very much for
Thank you.
your talk and your reflections, and we thank everyone for the participation in the chat.
Thank you, everyone.
Now we are gonna move for the preparation for our spiritual treatment. Pass is the transfusion of a spiritual energy with the goal of assisting with our physical, emotional, and mental balance. Passes help us to restore a state of harmony and peace by replacing negative and um, energy with health, positive energy. In order to receive the best benefits from passes, please follow the guide instructions, and remain in prayer. You may close your eyes to help with mentalization. And during the pass, the water you set aside will be absorbed, the spiritual energy that your family and you can benefit from. So now we are going to do our prayer for preparation for our spiritual treatment. And once again, let's close our eyes and elevate our thoughts. Breathe and think how grateful we are for the opportunity we have to stay here and to learn more about our future, about evolved worlds, and how we can and what we can do to be evolved person. God, we thank you for the talk tonight, and we ask you and the good spirits to help us to absorb all the good energy, and may everyone can feel better after our treatment tonight. And we thank you and we ask you your protection and your love today and always. So be it.
Let us now prepare ourselves for the moment of the passes and the magnetization of water. Let's now calm our hearts, breathing in and out. Pay attention to your body. Focus on your breath, and let yourself be carried by this energy. Let your thoughts pass by without judging them. Let them flow. Allow this light to be the beacon that guides you, and allow these words to penetrate your energy. Make each word an anchor of gratitude, faith, and trust. With the purpose of healing, which takes away my faith, healing every feeling of separation, pain. Let it all dissolve in this moment, leaving only love, gratitude, and trust. We ask God for the presence of our guardian angel and the friendly spirits who welcome us into this enlightened environment of our spiritual center. We open our plexus of love and forgiveness by mentalizing a light surrounding our hearts. Find a quiet and comfortable place to begin the mentalization process. Remove all worries from your thoughts. We ask that during the pass you breathe slowly and deeply. Let your body relax and surrender yourself to a deep meditation. Calmly imagine divine energies in soft and colorful light surrounding you in an environment of peace and spiritual warmth. Entrusting God with your most intimate desires, raise your thoughts to Jesus and the emissaries of the spiritual environment. The Pass begins with the cleansing of your soul. Imagine a waterfall of crystal clear water pouring over us, removing all the feelings that keep you away from faith and trust. Feel the energy of this water bathing you and deeply breathe in, feeling peace and harmony. Allow this water to wash away all the impurities and spiritual larvae, washing away all the sorrows and resentments, any feelings of hatred and revenge that hold us back and cause us harm, not only from this life, but past ones as well. Now visualize spiritual doctors around you, applying magnetic cleansing passes, sanitizing your spiritual body of all sadness and negative energy. Mentalize these negative thoughts and feelings being washed away, evaporating from your soul, like water evaporating into thin air, and being carried far away from your mind. Surround yourself with the faith that bathes your being, bringing clarity and lucidity, rebalancing every cell in your body. May the water envelop all pain and bring the clarity of opportunity that chooses peace. The answer arises in our hearts, freeing us from all evil and freeing all whom we have caused evil into and who have caused us evil, washing away all the connections that bind us. Even though we may not understand, we are freeing ourselves from all that causes us harm. Feel this cleansing penetrate your soul and release. Now that we are spiritually cleansed, imagine yourself surrounded by the light of love from the hands of Jesus. At this moment, sing words of faith and gratitude, being faithful to the light that exists in me, planted by the zealous Father. Imagine the sunlight that surrounds and enraptures, freeing us from the chains of everything that holds us down, strengthening your faith. Allow yourself to trust in this light, surrender to it, involved in pleasant feelings and feeling relieved to receive the strengthening lights. Mentalize your spiritual mentors now applying divine light for the strengthening of your mind and your emotions, leaving you feeling emotionally revitalized. Let us now mentalize the magnetization of this water. May we mentalize all the friendly spirits, magnetizing this water and filling it with everything that our bodies, minds, and soul need, so that we drink it after the pass. Thank you, God.
So now, before we make our prayer, our closing prayer, I would like to thank you everyone for joining us tonight. And we will be back next Tuesday at the same time. Now, we are going to do our closing prayer. So I invite you to join me. One more time. Lord Jesus, we thank you for all the learning during this night and for your love. We ask your protection for all the humanity, especially for the people who are sick at this moment. May they can recover their health. And please bless our night and our week. Stay with us today and always. So be it. Have a good night.